You look up at the night sky, and those stars, they aren't just pretty lights. They're ancient signals from places so impossibly far away that the light hitting your eyes right now actually left millions of years ago. We literally take their permanence completely for granted. But what if tonight, right now, those stars started to flicker out? Not with some massive, dramatic explosion, not with a grand cosmic warning. Just a strange, unsettling silence, telling us that something deep out there in the universe is fundamentally changing. So, what if the oldest lights in the sky began to fail? Just imagine stepping outside tonight. You're expecting to see the exact same familiar sky your ancestors looked up at for thousands of years. You want that sense of scale, right? That comforting vastness? But instead, you realize the stars are actually fading. You notice one star just hovering near the horizon. It hesitates, it weakens, and then it just disappears into the dark. And then another one, in a totally different part of the sky, does the exact same thing. The visceral dread you'd feel in that moment would be unreal. It'd be as if the entire universe just breathed out and completely forgot to breathe back in.
Part 1. The night the sky blinked.
Now, you might think the immediate global reaction would just be blind, cinematic panic. But actually, it wouldn't be. The timeline of this is wild. Within minutes, social media would absolutely explode with profound confusion. Give it a few hours, and the news spreads globally. Entire cities literally pausing to look up. And within days, observatories around the world would confirm the impossible. They'd realize this flickering isn't just random noise. Some stars dim for seconds, others for hours, and some, they never return to full brightness. Humanity would collectively find itself staring back at a blinking universe.
Part 2. Breaking the laws of physics.
See, our ancient ancestors feared eclipses because they thought the cosmos operated on magical rules. We'd fear this because it breaks the mathematical ones. Scientists would be frantically trying to separate the possible from the impossible. They'd pray for simple explanations, atmospheric distortion, a telescope glitch, maybe some passing interstellar dust clouds. But they'd have to cross all of those off the list almost immediately. Why? Because the flickering would be confirmed across entirely different wavelengths, huge distances, and completely independent astronomical surveys.
To put that into perspective, let's look at normal star behavior versus this terrifying new anomaly. Normally, stars are incredibly predictable. They burn steadily for billions of years. But in this scenario, we're suddenly seeing quiet red dwarfs, highly stable sun-like stars, and massive blue giants all inexplicably stuttering at the exact same time. A star like our sun has enough fuel to burn flawlessly for 10 billion years. It doesn't just decide to blink like a faulty street lamp.
So, if it isn't a glitch, what on earth is it? Is it a massive, invisible cosmic structure? Well, if an object, like a huge swarm of ancient debris or a giant dust cloud, was big enough to block out so many stars across so much of the sky, astronomers would easily detect its massive gravitational signature. But what if there is no signature?
That leads us to an even more staggering question. Are we seeing the work of incomprehensible alien intelligence? Seriously, every civilization eventually asks if we're alone in the dark. If this flickering is artificial, then some intelligence out there beyond Earth is operating on a scale we can barely even comprehend.
But there is a third, and honestly, a much more humbling possibility. Is physics itself broken? Maybe our math is just fundamentally incomplete. We'd have to consider that stellar cores, magnetic fields, or fusion rates are physically altering everywhere at once. It would mean the absolute most stable objects we know of simply aren't stable anymore.
As the old saying goes, sometimes progress in science feels like discovering how many questions you never knew how to ask. Researchers all over the globe would be in a total state of awe and desperation. They'd be running millions of simulations while telescope time becomes literally more valuable than gold. And with every single rejected theory, their list of unknowns would just keep growing.
Part 3. When the sun trembles. As scientists stared deep into the dark of space, the public's eyes would inevitably turn right back to our own solar system. Is Earth next? If the stars are flickering because the entire cosmic environment is becoming unstable, what happens if our own star, our sun, begins behaving differently too? Human civilization completely relies on rhythm and stable conditions. Even a tiny change in solar output would trigger catastrophic severe weather and rapid climate shifts. We'd be looking at total ecosystem and agricultural collapse. Air traffic, global communications, massive disruptions across the board. Ultimately, it means the complete loss of planetary predictability. We inherently trust the sun to rise and the seasons to change. Losing that would entirely shatter the trust we have in our own environment.
Part 4. A World in Grief.
When the sky itself stops being a constant, every aspect of our future becomes harder to trust. Society would likely fracture through a few distinct phases. First up, fascinated observation. You'd have amateur astronomers excitedly mapping out the missing stars. But that beauty fades into fear really fast, triggering phase 2, widespread conspiracy and panic. In a world where fear moves fast, rumors of secret government projects or straight-up doomsday scenarios would multiply faster than the speed of light. And finally, we'd reach phase 3, a profound cosmic grief. Humanity would have to mourn the loss of a sky that used to feel endless. The stars we named, the myths we told, and all the dreams tied to looking up.
On a practical level, we'd witness the absolute collapse of astronomy as we know it. The familiar constellations we've tracked for millennia would break apart. Deep space navigation completely fails. Measuring cosmic distances would become totally impossible, and entire massive areas of astrophysics would require a ground-up revision. From ancient sailors who crossed oceans by starlight to future explorers hoping to do the same in deep space, human civilization would suddenly realize just how helplessly dependent we still are on those tiny, distant points of light.
Part 5. Our Fragile Universe.
When we are suddenly confronted with a sky in danger, we are profoundly reminded that no borders can stop the universe from happening to all of us at once. You see, the universe is not a static museum of fixed lights. It is incredibly alive. Alive with change, motion, birth, and death. Everything that burns must eventually transform. Our own sun won't last forever, and even the greatest galaxies are not truly permanent. The night sky only feels timeless to us because our human lives are just so incredibly short. That permanence we feel, it's really just an illusion.
So if the stars we trust can disappear without warning, how much more precious does our fragile moment in the cosmos become? Every single star we see tonight could, one day, be gone. Yet the sheer fact that we can see it right now, that its light traveled across impossible, mind-bending distances just to reach our eyes, is an absolute miracle. If they start flickering out, the entire story of humanity changes in a single, haunting moment. So keep looking up, because sometimes the most important things in the entire universe are the ones that can disappear without any warning at all.